Hi, this is Terry Modique of Good News Ministries. Do you ever wonder how to get something you've learned about the truth of God's ways, God's love, the truth from your head to your heart? We all struggle with that sometimes. We've learned something. We've learned a lot of things, haven't we, about God's ways of doing things. We've heard it in the scriptures. We've heard it at the Catholic Mass, in the homilies, in the church's teachings. We've heard it in many, many places about God's tremendous love for us, and that we can trust Him, and that we can have peace even in the midst of trials and doubts, and we can have joy in the midst of hardships and sufferings. But we know this. How do we get that down to our heart so that we live it? We tend to prefer it to reach our heart before we act on something. That's how we're hardwired to be. We need to understand it in order to act on it. We have confidence when we understand it, and understanding is not head knowledge, it's heart awareness. In other words, it's sunk in so deeply that we know it's true. But it usually doesn't work that way. We need to look at it in reverse. Instead of waiting for our heart to understand something before we act on it, when we act on it, our heart finally understands it. When we act on what we have learned, even if it feels like we don't trust it, it's just in our heads, it's head knowledge. If we act on it simply because it's what Jesus said, it's in Scripture, it's in the church's teachings about how to live out the Scriptures. When we act on the truth, we begin to understand why it's true. We begin to understand how true it is indeed. And we begin to experience the flow of God working through us. And that, my friend, that helps us know that it is true. And that's what happens in the heart. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24, that those who act on His words are like the person who has built his house on rock and not sand, and the storms come and it survives, it stands strong. In other words, Jesus is saying we need to act on what He has taught us. We don't act on what we understand. We act on what He has taught us, and then we understand. God bless you as you journey forward in this truth, acting on this truth even before you feel it in your heart.